Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a reading wrap up for you for the month of September. The weather is still so good that I'm kind of losing where we're at, but actually it's my birthday in a week, so I should know which month we are in. Let's talk about the books that I read in September. I have read 4 books in September, not a whole lot, mainly because one of the books just was kind of a thicker pill to get through. But let's start with the first book that I read, which was Weather Girl. Weather Girl is a book about Ari, and Ari is a weather girl. She presents the weather on a local news channel that she works for, and there is this other guy. His name is Russell. I have to look that up. And the both of them, after a Christmas party, decide that they're going to set up their bosses who used to be married, got divorced, but they both feel like there is a spark still there. Their bosses are currently completely like destroying the whole work vibe in their local office at the moment, just because they are like really angry with each other, or at least they're just kind of annoying each other all the time. But they feel like there still is something there through like certain things that they've seen. So they start working on that. Of course, typical romance book. They, while trying to set up their bosses, they get a little bit more involved themselves. And definitely a few like kind of plot twists in a way in this book, which made it more fun. But at the same time, I've had this with the romances over the last month as well, like the month before when I did my reviews, you probably caught on that. Some of these, like the real cliffhangers to me are just like, oh come on. Like of course misunderstandings happen, but it's always the same in these books. And it's kind of funny because these type of books used to be my favorite books. I used to read like these type of chick lit romance books just non-stop. And during this summer, most of it just wasn't fully what I was hoping for, which is interesting. But yeah, like definitely some interesting topics in here. Depression comes up, single parenthood comes up, and like 1 or 2 other plot twists, which made the book enjoyable enough. But I think it was mainly that like cliffhanger towards the end, basically. Not cliffhanger, it does get resolved of course. That wasn't it for me, so I gave it 3 stars instead of the 4 that it maybe could have been. Then I read the Quotient. I don't know how to properly pronounce that in English. This book is about Stella, and Stella is definitely somewhere on the autistic spectrum, and she decides that to learn more about how to interact with guys and how to make sure she can properly pleasure them as well, she hires an escort, and she wants this guy to like help her out and explain to her, like teach her basically his way, so she knows next time she gets into a relationship or goes on a date and they end up in bed later on, she knows what to do, because that's according to her where things go wrong after the dates. So this guy initially doesn't want to help her, but then he might have a slight like feeling for her and he decides to help her out anyway. But it's very double because of course like taking money for helping somebody in that way, and he isn't an escort just because he always wanted to get into that business. There's other things happening there as well, of course. Otherwise this story would probably be a little bit too one-dimensional. But yeah, so stuff happens. I definitely liked, like, first of all, like when there's an autistic character, I always kind of like that aspect if it's done properly enough. And I feel like here the writer did know what she was writing about when she wrote kind of from that more artistic perspective. My younger sister is somewhere on that spectrum as well. She's still very much like she can get along in the normal world basically, but she definitely has like some of the things in a similar way, well, not in a similar way, like this character. Like she can get along most of the time, but there still are some things where she struggles a little bit. I guess that's why these type of stories are kind of like nice and familiar to me as well. So I like it when a writer can do that properly, and I also kind of liked the way that they got to know each other better and better, and the way that their relationship developed. Now I'm trying to like fully remember the story, and I read this like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and I don't like remember all the specifics anymore. I gave it 3 stars, and I think that's just because it was a nice read. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like anything too special. I didn't really like read up on the blurb when I started reading this, so I was kind of surprised initially when it was like full on, okay, she starts this thing with an escort. Wasn't expecting it to be like so visual, which I don't mind. I just wasn't expecting it, because I was expecting that this would be more of those, what is it, like Love Theoretically, like that series. But yeah, that's that one. Okay, I'm talking a lot without saying a lot, I feel like, at the moment. Anyway, next book I read was The Atlas 6. I feel like that's a pretty well-known book at this time. It's about 6, I wanted to say 5. It's about 6 kids that have some sort of like magical abilities in this world, where some people, when they are born, they have sort of abilities. Other people are just like normal people and they don't have them. And these 6 people particularly are taken from like different places in the world, and they're invited to the Alexandrian society because they are the best of the best in this whole world, according to the board, I guess, of this society. So they get to go to that place, they get to learn, they get to like develop their skills, those type of things. And in the end, I guess in a way, they're trying to protect this Alexandrian library, because it's a really big library. I mean, we all, I guess, kind of know the Alexandrian library from back in the day. And they are protecting this library, and the library is kind of like only certain parts of the library are open to different people depending on what they're trying to research or what information they need and how much they've advanced within the society. So it was kind of an interesting book, because you get to read from like basically all 6 different perspectives. Now at the start that was a little bit hard, because getting to fully understand who's who, even though you get an introduction chapter for all of them initially, I got 2 of them mixed up. I think it was Tristan and one of the other guys. Very bad at names. Callum. Tristan and Callum I kept mixing up initially, and then after a little while, of course, you hear enough about them to know who's who. The other ones, for some reason, I was able to distinguish easily enough, but 2 of them, I guess their skills were, they're not similar, but too similar in a way to, yeah. Well, anyway, I like the book. Like, it was nice to read a book that had a bit more depth again, because I've been reading a lot of romances because I felt like they were the summary type of books that I was craving, and then they kind of weren't, so that was kind of disappointing. So it was good to read this book, which a lot is happening at the same time. Like, it's kind of slow paced, like their initial like going through and getting to know each other, but I think this is a part 1 of like a series, so I feel like they probably need a bit of time to kind of set up like who's who and what's happening and those type of things. And then later on in the book, all of a sudden a lot happens and you're learning like plot twists and things, and definitely interesting. And I do want to read the next book. I already like downloaded it on my Kindle as well, so I gave this one 4 stars. And then lastly, I read The Bookish Life of Nina Hill. Going into fall time, I was like, okay, now I want to read like the cozy books, even though it's still summer again here. It's never been warm on my birthday, and right now it's like we have like summery temperatures in October. Anyway, this is a book about Nina Hill. Nina works in a bookshop, and I don't even know, like it wasn't even that eventful of a book in that sense. Like, she is also on a trivia team and she has all these different things going on, but she's very organized. Like, she likes her list, she likes to plan out every single day, and I kind of can relate to that and also not relate to that at the same time. I like that type of aesthetic in a way, I guess. So it was nice to hear her talk about books and cozying up and just doing all the things that you would want to do in fall anyway. She is going up in one of the trivia games against this other team, and of course there's a guy on the team and all of that. And it's a really cute read. I don't know like what made this book significantly different from the other one. Here also there were some misunderstandings, but they weren't like everything is fine and then oh shit, big misunderstanding, and then resolves like two chapters later. I feel like a lot of the romance books that I've been reading were like that, and here it's like, okay, it's kind of they're figuring things out and things go fine, and that to me that's just more realistic than the like, oh we're going on this really high and ooh we love each other so much and all of a sudden oh no this is all wrong, and then you know what I mean. So this was just a really cute read, and it was I guess exactly what I was looking for at the time, which is why I gave it 4 stars. I just really enjoyed my time with the book. And those were the 4 books that I read this month. Not a whole lot. I feel like I need to work on my summaries, but let me know, like, how do you guys feel about these videos? I know they're not my most watched videos, but I like talking about books. I'd love to hear what books you guys have read recently. Is there anything that you think is really, really nice for fall? Maybe when fall actually hits here, I can snuggle up a little bit more. I already downloaded like at least 10, if not more, books that would be my fall reads onto my Kindle, which probably is already almost too much for me to even go through, but we'll see. I'm going on a little holiday for a week in a week and a half from now. So maybe that will give me some more reading time. Yeah, that's it for today. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye bye.